Hi there, welcome back. And this time I've decided that we're gonna show you how I actually paint the floor. I had one video where I weathered a floor, but I had already had the paint job on it in the first place. And I had a couple of people ask me, how do you get that metallic color in the first place? So that's what I'm gonna do. And I've got little makeup pads that seem to spread the paint real well. And what I'm going to use is a product called Rub and Buff. And I've got 3 different shades. One is a pewter color, and that's what I'm putting on right now. This is the pewter color. And then I have kind of a shinier one called Silver Leaf, and a darker one that's black. And so basically, I've just put a base coat on, and then I put on a little bit of highlights and a little bit of lowlights. And the trick is to try to make it not look uniform. And I've found that we as humans have a problem with random, but I apologize about the camera going in and out of focus, showing off that I have no idea what I'm doing. But certainly your results may vary. These things that I've come across have just been from either watching other YouTubers or just trying stuff out myself. But in this case, the Millennium Falcon floors and the walls, they seem to be metal, but it's all very dark, not super shiny. You know, it's a hunk of junk, right? So anyway, I'm just going over all of this stuff. Oh, and I've also I did prime these parts with a nice semi-gloss gray primer, and it was very similar to the color of the parts that as they come. You know, if you put the sucker together by itself without doing any painting or weathering, it'd look okay. But I wanted it to look a little bit more realistic. And since these parts are coming in once a month, I have the time. This is the DeAgostini Millennium Falcon, and it's coming in slowly. Anyway, so after you've had the Rub and Buff on for a little while, you want to kind of buff it off, and that's kind of how it works, and it gives it kind of a sheen or something. Anyway, so now that I've got kind of a base coat with the pewter, I'm going to come back over it with the black. And I'm going to get it on my palette there, and then I'm not going to, I don't want to put it everywhere. So we're just going to splotch it around kind of randomly. A little here, and a little here, and a little there. And then I'm going to just try to mess it around, and again, trying not to be random. I'm going to try to rub most of it off. And just kind of see what looks right. I'm going to do a little bit on the wall as well. The section that I'm doing right now is a cutout where the hull of the ship can be pulled away. So there's not really any roof to this tube. You pull the hull away, and you're going to be able to see down into this section. So now here's the Silver Leaf. Excuse me while I take a sip of my soothing beverage. So, yeah, same thing with the Silver Leaf. It's just a much shinier, brighter version, and it kind of pops. And So I don't want to use a whole lot of this because, again, the Millennium Falcon was never new and pretty. At least not that we ever saw. So what this will do is just kind of give you a hint of maybe how it came new at some point, and we're just going to try to dull out some of the black. Oh, drop the makeup pad. These are just makeup wedges that I use, and you know, some of the people that I've learned about Rub and Buff use brushes and stuff like that. That's what Adam Savage uses. I always find that a brush allows me to get down into the crevices too much. And sometimes Rub and Buff, you don't want to be in the crevices. Sometimes you do, in which case a brush is great. But sometimes I want to pull just the top out. And so that's why I like having the flat makeup pads, because they don't go down any place that you don't want. And so when you're just trying to bring out some highlights on the top level, then it does that really well. So now that I've got a good base coat, now we're going to muck it up a little bit, get it all dirty. And this is going to be a similar weathering technique to the floor that I did earlier. And so far, the wash that I've been using that I enjoy is the Vallejo Model Wash for dark vehicles. And that's my starting point. And what I like about it is it's super thin. But I like to thin it out even more with a couple of drops of water. So that's what I'm doing right now, is getting some water. And then you'll see that this has got little cracks and crevices for each panel. And I feel like there would just be some darkness down in these slots. And so I'll put a little dab of the Model Wash, and then I'll just keep hitting drops of water. And I don't know if it's kind of hard to see, but if you look closely, you can see that the water just kind of pulls down into the cracks and just gives a little bit of definition. I don't really want to dirty the plates up any more than I already have with the black. I'm going to do that later with the sepia. But in this case, I just want to get the wash down in the cracks. And I, again, very, very much trying to stay away from being regular and repetitive looking. So that's why I start in the middle and go this way and go that way. I don't just start in one uniform spot and move all over the place. I do some a little darker than others. When I clean it up, I'm a little, I don't know, I'm random about it. I do, a little more here and a little less there and that kind of thing. Just try to be as different about it as possible. And, it's all about having that vision in your mind and stopping when you see that vision, which sounds very much like a Mr. Miyagi thing, but that's almost exactly what I do. Is I close my eyes and I picture that bonsai tree, or in this case, the floor of the Millennium Falcon. And sometimes the image in my head comes from reference material, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's just what I think would look right. But either way, my goal right now is to try to achieve what I see in my head. And so right now what I'm trying to do is let it run. And it's pretty wet, and it's running down into the cracks and crevices. And I just keep doing that until I think it looks right, so I can achieve my bonsai tree. This is how I have been dealing with this whole COVID thing. I'm not trapped in the house. I still work. I'm an essential cable guy. So I still work, but there's no places to go. There's no movies to go out and see. There's no restaurants to go eat at. They have been opening, and we have gone, but it's certainly not the relaxing, enjoyable experience that it once was, because you're always concerned that you're going to contract this disease. So this is how I get through it. So that's pretty much it for the black now, and now I'm gonna go over it with the company's called Game Color, and it's a wash, another wash. It's sepia based, so it's just, this looks like, I don't know, dirty rust maybe, or oil and grease color. And so now what I'm doing is I'm just putting some dirty water all over the place. And I find that when you get it wet to begin with, sometimes I'll spritz it with a sprayer. But again, that can be uniform, and I'm doing such a small area that I just want to give, several years of dirtying in about 5 or 10 minutes. Which is hard to do. But I don't really need this down in the cracks, so that's why I'm just kind of going over the actual plates, and I'm doing a little more here and a little less there, that kind of thing. I'm trying to be random, and then I'll pull it up. And that's going to be it for this video. And stay tuned for the next one, because that's when I'm going to put it all together, and we'll see how it looks. But I think that looks pretty good. Now let's do the wall to the chamber, the corridor, I guess. And we're just going to basically do the same thing. Going to make sure that looks just the same. I don't want it to stand out too much, but I'm also not putting nearly as much dirt on it either. Just trying to be a little more random. But also maybe the walls were more difficult to clean off, that too. So we'll see how it goes. Put a little bit here, a little bit there, and then I'm going to wipe it off. And like I said, in the next one, we're going to put it all together and just see how it ends up. I think that ended up looking all right. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.